Hello, today we will improve our main menu user control to make it look a bit nicer and more colorful. I have changed the background image, you can download it from GitHub. I also have changed the pet images, so make sure you download and replace all of them. Two new images have different names now. Menu background JPG became pet PNG. And kitten PNG became kitty PNG. Let's open our user control main menu. We need to make two changes here. So menu background JPG became pet PNG and kitten PNG became kitty. Yeah, that's right. In addition to adding new images to the project, make sure you change file names in XAML. Now let's change a few properties of our user control. Let's change the design height to something bigger. Okay. And design width to say 1300. Okay. Now let's change the background from white to something not so shiny, like hash EAF1FC. Good. Now let's set the font size here to 14 and use layout rounding to remove the blurry effect from images. Now let's change our resources. We will add a style for buttons here. So style target type equals xtype button. Now we will set properties here. So set a property. Let's set the margin to, well, 0 on left, 5 on top, and 0 on right and bottom. Also, let's change the font size to 48. And let's change the border thickness to 0. Currently, none of our changes show because we are overriding the style somewhere below. Well, also I want to make them square, and at the same time they should be rounded. So it's a bit tricky because we need to change the border, but the border is part of the button. So in order to access elements that are inside controls, from which they consist, we need to use style resources, just like you access user control resources. And now we access the styles resources. Well, specifically the buttons style. And here again we set the style for the border, so xtype border. And here we will set the corner radius to say 10. Now, in order to see the changes, we need to remove the border resources from here. And here you see our buttons should be square, and at the same time they should be with some corner radius. Yeah, good. Also, I have noticed that we aren't using the general style for images, because we overriding the properties for this image and we use image stack style for these 5 images. So we don't really need the style for image. Let's use a different font family for the pet title. So let's use Comic Sans. So font family Comic Sans and MS. Let's remove the border from the left grid. So we need to remove the border and its background, and remove the closing tag. We need to change the grid a bit. So, well, setting the grid column to 0 is not necessary, because if it's not set, it's 0 by default, but I like it to be always visible. So let's set margin to 10. Okay. Well, let's see if setting horizontal alignment changes anything. Well, I guess no. Okay. Now, we have 5 buttons here, but actually these 2 buttons make little sense, because version just shows or hides the version text block, and credits shows or hides this border. But it makes literally no sense. Instead, we will make a button to lead to our website. So let's remove one row definition, because we will have 4 buttons. As for the buttons themselves, we are going to make them colorful. So the first button will be sky blue. Good. The second button will be light green. Instead of credits, let's change it to about, and change button creators to button website click, and set the tooltip, and here we will use binding. I have a video about XAML binding on my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, please be sure to take a look at it. Not to be at a loss here, but in order to use binding, we first state what are we binding to, so the element, and we are going to bind to this hyperlink. So we need to give it a name, and let it be link. So in order to bind to this element, we are going to set the element name to link. And now that we are inside this element, we need to bind to its navigate URI property. So when we hover over this button, we will see a tooltip showing the navigate URI from this text block. So in order to do this, we need to set the path to navigate URI. We are finished with binding, and also we need to set the background to say hash FFE868. Okay. Let's see whether it binds correctly. Oh, we haven't created the website click. About shows the correct tooltip. Okay. Now, after the about button, we don't need the version button, and let's change the content to buy, because it's a game for kids. Set the tooltip to exit and change the background to coral. Let's change a few properties of the right border. So let's make equal thickness to all sides, so border thickness just 5, and corner radius, say 10. Let's remove the gradient brush. I think you already got the gist. And set it to be solid, like dark turquoise. Okay, now let's change the border creators and set the thickness to 5 and the corner radius to 10. Now let's change this text block inside the border, and again we will use binding here. So this text block will have a tooltip which displays the navigate URI of this hyperlink. You can say that using binding in XAML you can borrow values from other controls. So let's use tooltip, and again binding space, set the element name to link, comma path equals, and here we set the property navigate URI. Also, let's change the version text block. We will just change the text. Let's just use the copyright character and set the year. So I started this project in 2015 and I'm still making it. And in code, instead of setting the version, we will add the version. So plus equals. Let's check whether everything looks fine and whether our binding works. So here is our tooltip. Here is our tooltip. And here is our text block with added version. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more tutorials.